All right, first term is photosynthesis, which makes sense because we've been talking about photosynthesis a lot lately, so we might as well define it and put it in our notebook. Please read for us the definition of photosynthesis, Blake. All right, so we got really fancy about it because last time we talked about photosynthesis, we just said it's making food, autotrophs. We use terms like that. We also talked about photosynthesis in terms of producing oxygen for our atmosphere. When we normally think of photosynthesis, the first thing that comes to mind is plants, but 70-ish% of the surface of the earth is covered by water. Plants are land critters, most plants are land critters. And so it makes sense that a lot of the oxygen that's in the atmosphere, that's created for the atmosphere, comes from another source. So we've got algae, we've got photosynthetic bacteria, things like that. So that makes sense. Cellular, no, take that back. I don't want to do that yet. Underneath our vocab, I want to go ahead and lay out the equation for photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide, let's put gas on there as well since I put oxygen gas on the other one. Let's move that over so it makes more sense. Plus water. The arrow means yields. Sugar and oxygen gas. So the arrow means yields. The stuff on the left-hand side of the arrow represents our reactants. The stuff on the right-hand side represents the products, what's produced. With this reaction, we also have to throw in a bit of energy. And where does the energy come from in photosynthesis? The sun provides the energy in photosynthesis. So there's an input of energy in this equation. Carbon dioxide gas, what is the chemical equation for carbon dioxide gas? Water? Oxygen gas? Ooh, is it O2 or O3? Ozone's O3. And so we don't want to breathe that in. We want the O2. All right, so carbon dioxide plus water. Energy is added. This is our chemical formula for sugar, C6H12O6. Oh, and I guess I just need to write those in there. And yields oxygen gas. Yes, energy is added. And where did that energy come from? The sun, Mrs. Johnson. Very good. That energy comes from the sun. So notice, we need 6 carbon dioxide molecules and 6 water molecules to make 1 molecule of sugar. C6H12O6. That's where we're getting that information from. Jocelyn, if you put that on for me now. You'll have time once we're done. All right, take out a highlighter, highlight the vocab term photosynthesis, and then box in this information. All right, cellular respiration. respiration. Read for us the definition of cellular respiration, please. Elaine. All right, so in that definition of cellular respiration, is there anything that sounds familiar? Say that one more time. No, say it anyway. Oh, okay. So, hold on to that thought for just a second. Okay, so unicellular, how many cells for unicellular? And so many cells is multicellular. Unicellular critters, multicellular critters, it doesn't matter. They're going to go through cellular respiration. And some unicellular critters go through photosynthesis. So hold on to that for just a minute. All right, like specifically this definition from the definition of photosynthesis, is there anything that's familiar? Sounds like we just heard. Pardon? Carbohydrates are sugars. So we just heard that in photosynthesis. Anything else? Oxygen, glucose, that's a sugar. Water, carbon dioxide, and? Yes, water? Yes, glucose? Was an energy in there somewhere? An energy? We talked about energy just a minute ago. So cellular respiration sounds a whole lot like photosynthesis, yeah? But it can't be the exact same thing, or else we'd just call it photosynthesis. So cellular respiration, and when we think of respiration, we usually think of respiration. But cellular respiration is what's going on inside cells. And it's taking those components and it's using them to create energy and give off the waste products. So cellular respiration is on the cellular level, whereas respiration, breathing, is part of our respiratory system respiration. So it sounds really, really, really familiar, and it should sound really, really familiar because essentially this is the process of cellular respiration. Sugar plus oxygen gas yields carbon dioxide, water, and there's energy produced. So how is the equation for cellular respiration similar to the one to photosynthesis? How are they related? It looks like reverse. It looks like it's in reverse. All right, grab a second color highlighter, highlight cellular respiration, box in your information for cellular respiration. All right, now I'm on the right-hand side page. The first term that we need is ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of organisms and their environment. Thank you for reading. Thank you for reading. Ecosystem is a community of organisms and their environment. There are two important components of the ecosystem, or one way that we can classify items. So we can classify them as biotic and abiotic. Biotic or abiotic. I guess or is a better choice. So yes, we have two post-it notes. The name gives us a clue. What does bio mean? Life. So biotic components of an ecosystem are going to be things that are living components. When we say living components, it could be living now, or it can be a component that came from once living things. There you go. That's an interesting one to bring up, but sure. So biotic is the living component of an ecosystem. It could be things that are alive or things that came from once living things. Abiotic. What does bio mean? And the A is a word part that means not. So abiotic means not living. Abiotic does not mean dead, because dead would be biotic. It's once living thing. Abiotic components are not living, never living, not made of once living things. So water in an ecosystem, rocks, the gases in the atmosphere of the ecosystem, the energy in an ecosystem from sunlight, those are all abiotic components. All right, a habitat. A habitat's probably a familiar term. We're going to define it. This is a place where an organism usually lives. Habitat is a component of an ecosystem, a place where an organism usually lives. Population, we've heard this term before. In the video we watched with Hank, he talked about different levels of organization within an ecosystem. A population is the set of individuals within the same species living in the same place at the same time. set of individuals within the same species living in the same place at the same time. Set of individuals within the same species living in the same place at the same time. So a habitat can be specific for a certain population, a certain group of species. But different species are considered different populations. So you've got a pond or a lake, if they even exist anymore with it being so dry. Within that pond, within that lake, there are certain regions, there are certain areas of it that certain fish are going to stay. We also have different species of fish within there. So crappie, bass, catfish. Okay, there's 3. Makes sense. The catfish's habitat's not going to be the same as the crappie and the bass. They're going to be in different places in that lake. Even within a lake, the north side of the lake, the south side of the lake, there might be catfish that live in both places, but those are still considered different populations because they're in different areas. They might breed in different ways and end up with different genetics just simply due to location. All right, same place, same time. So right now, lakes, ponds probably drying up or almost drying up may not be able to support fish anymore. So a lot of the bigger fish are probably going to be wiped out from this, and maybe we just have the smaller fish that are left. So it's going to end up being a different population because when we finally get rain and it fills all that stuff back up again, you either need to restock or you need to have that population come back. I don't know the word I'm looking for. But it's going to be a different population at a time. If you're restocking it, it's definitely not the same genetics as you had before. So even here, KTC, what is this? East side of the building. Got a lawn out there, east side of the building. You've got a population of crickets that are out there, living in that place at this time, at a specific place, specific time. So you've got crickets then in the west side of the building, out on the back side, in the woods out there. Different population. Even if it's the exact same species of cricket, it's still a different population. Within the back lawn, it's going to be easier. Within the back lawn, you got a wooded area, so you've got a population of crickets, and then different species of crickets, and grasshoppers, which are kind of cricket-like, but not crickets. And so each one of those represents a population. So it's pretty specific. Community. Different species that interact with each other while living in the same place at the same time. So when we look at a population, we're looking at that specific species at that place and at that time. But in ecosystems, there are always communities. There's always more stuff interacting. More critters interacting, I should say, rather than stuff. That's probably better. All right, once you get finished with those notes, you're going to work on the cycles worksheet. Your spiral notebook might be helpful for that because we have 3 pictures in our spiral notebook, 2 of which are the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle, so that might be very helpful in filling this out. Make sure you got your first name and last name on the worksheet, and when you get it finished, it goes in the tray. If you don't finish it before the end of class, it is homework.